Siblings named Kaylin and Kyle messaged and said that they believed their uncle was working on a manuscript or an academic research paper about the truth about giants, but then that manuscript was stolen from his estate before they could get a hold of it. So what happened was their uncle passes away. He was their dad's only brother, and they were the last living relatives. Their uncle had no family of his own. Their own dad has sadly passed away years earlier, but there was like a 10-year age gap between him and his older brother, their uncle. So their dad wasn't really close with him, and they weren't really close with him. Like, they had met him when they were little, but didn't really have any kind of relationship. What their dad had ever really told them about their uncle was that he was an academic, he was heavily invested in his work, that he traveled all the time, and that's why he wasn't really around, and that he cared about the past too much. Dad had basically just said that he didn't really prioritize anything besides his work, which, fine, that's his prerogative. Kyle said that their uncle had been formally trained and worked as an anthropological researcher who specialized in pre-classical civilization. He had earned advanced degrees from a respected university. And early in his career, Kyle said that he worked on legitimate, well-documented research excavation projects in the Middle East, South America, and Central Asia. He published several peer-reviewed papers and then eventually stopped working in academia and eventually went on to consult for private museums, unnamed heritage preservation groups, whatever that means. That's his background, just so you understand a little bit of who this man was, right? So they get to his estate and it's a modest house. It's sparsely decorated. He was not wealthy by any means, despite his long career. Kaylin and Kyle had never been over there. It was like an hour and a half from where they lived. But basically they had already decided before even getting over there that they were pretty much just going to sell everything because they weren't really close with him. Kaylin was getting married and had a wedding to pay for, and Kyle was a junior in college and had a lot of student loans. So they had basically already agreed before even getting over there. But when they get over there, they see he doesn't really have any fancy furniture. He has no fancy electronics. Nothing's really worth much. He does have this extensive book collection, small artifacts, and then he has photographs and photographs lining the walls of him in various places around the world, like deserts, mountain ranges, forests. There's places so remote they don't even have landmarks, and there's just photos of excavation sites. Kyle said walking through his house, it felt like just being a passerby or a tourist in someone else's life without really any context. He didn't know this person really. So they talked to their mom about it. Their mom's like, why don't you hire an estate liquidation company and they'll come in and they'll determine the value of everything in the house and they'll kind of handle it and you just pay them a percentage. That's what they do. And the estate agent comes over and she walks them through the house and she's like, okay, let's go through everything first and see if there's anything you want to keep. But they kind of look at everything. They're like, there's really no heirlooms here. There's really nothing that means anything to us personally. So we're good with just selling everything. And the estate agent's like, cool. Well, just take one last look and then, we'll get to work. The estate agent's in the main living room looking at things, starting to make some notes. Kaylin's walking around and Kyle walks into the bedroom. Kyle's just kind of going through opening and closing drawers to see if there's anything inside that he might want. And he notices this little hand-carved watch box on the dresser, but he opens it. There's nothing inside. He's whatever, Next to the dresser, there's a desk, and he just kind of glances at the desk and he notices this brown accordion style folder that's jam-packed with something. And there's a handwritten label on it. And it says the Book of Giants. He opens it because it catches his attention and he sees there's a bunch of hand-drawn maps with no borders, no real landmarks. There's journal pages, handwritten in his uncle's handwriting. There's pictures of excavation sites all over the world and of bones, but the bones are not of human proportion. Sketches of skeletons that also don't seem to match normal human proportions. He's like, what is this? And he starts reading. And then he realizes that this isn't just a collection of photographs and maps. It's a manuscript or the start of one. His uncle had apparently been working on this manuscript, arguing that giants were not mythical creatures, that they had been real at one point, and that the evidence of their existence had been buried. He apparently found passages from ancient books like the Book of Giants, which was fragmented and found alongside the Dead Sea Scrolls from what Kyle could make of it. Notes in the margins of some of these texts by his uncle made to argue that these passages weren't symbolic or metaphorical in nature, but meant to be taken literally. Cross-reference them with excavation sites that he had personally dug up, with photographs he had personally took, and with evidence of salt mummies found in the Himalayas, for bodies that were supposedly preserved naturally, but with proportions that didn't seem to match human anatomy. Kyle's just flipping through and he's seeing all these notes about petrified giants, about petrified wood, about petrified giant trees and megaflora. One page has a line circled over and over in red ink that says they bury evidence. Kyle is completely immersed in this manuscript and he's in there for a while looking through this thing. And Kaylin finally walks in. She's like, what are you looking at? And he's like, look at this. He labeled it the Book of Giants. And so Kaylin's intrigued. She sits down, she starts looking through it and she's immediately drawn into. They're both in there for another hour just looking through this thing, and they realize that there's a lot of evidence in this manuscript that he had supposedly been working on from their non-scientific perspective, right? So the estate agent walks in and she's like, oh, did you guys find something good? And they're like, oh, we think that we'd like to keep this. I think it's research. And she just looks at it and kind of dismisses it. And she's like, yeah, that's just personal research. It's not really a value anything. We don't even have to say anything about it. It's yours. And she's like, can you guys come in here? I have some questions about whatever, some paperwork for you to fill out. So they follow her and Kyle keeps thinking about the folder. He's like, I'm going to take it, whatever. But they finish up the day and he forgets it at the house, but he's like, it's fine. The house is locked. I can go back and get it. I have to be back there the following weekend or something. Like a week later, it's the day they're supposed to go back to the house, and they get a call from the estate agency, and they said somebody broke into the house. Like, the police are already on their way. We already called them. They're coming to make a report, and we're going through right now to see, what was taken. Get there, the police are there, inventory is reviewed, and they realize something strange, which is that nothing is missing. Nothing of value anyway. No furniture, no electronics, no artifacts, nothing like that. And so they're like, that's weird. And the police are like, oh, it's probably just somebody, in the neighborhood or like that passed by, noticed the house was empty. Someone who had cased the street or knew someone who lived on the street or something, and someone told them there was an estate agency here and they knew that nobody would be here. So they were probably just looking for cash. Police are like, oh, what happens? And so they take a report, and Kyle goes to the bedroom and he notices that that file folder is gone. That everything else in the bedroom was untouched. That little box was still there. The drawers were still neatly closed. The rest on the bookshelves had not even been disturbed. So that led him to believe that whoever had broken into the house knew exactly what they were there for and knew exactly where it was. And he says they found it. He says he kicks himself for not taking photos, not making copies, not taking that accordion style folder the day that he found it. He says, who really expects your dead uncle's estate to be broken into and robbed? Kyle said he and Kaylin went through all the books to see if there was maybe another copy of this manuscript anywhere in the house, but they couldn't find anything, nothing even referencing giants in general. Kyle said that he thinks that any evidence of the existence of giants that his uncle had was in this file folder that was now no longer in the house. Typically, these stories can come in from anyone, but Kaylin did corroborate his story, and she sent photos basically proving that their uncle was who they said that he was, of him on like excavation sites. She didn't want me to share because they want to keep his identity private, which is valid. She said she didn't want his good name in the scientific world to be tarnished because of his belief in something that might be considered fringe by some, at least not widely accepted as truth. Kyle and Kaylin say they have no idea who broke into their uncle's property. There was nothing that they could find to suggest that he was in communication with anybody working on this project, but who knows? What are your thoughts? I'm definitely intrigued by this one and can't wait to read the comments.